going on? RGIJ is back, baby. How you good, man? Well, welcome as always. Though, this is going to be our third interview we've had, and what people don't know, if they don't, is that you're on another podcast that we do, and you mentioned something I really want to touch a story on. So, if you can introduce yourself first, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I'm Nick. If you're looking at the podcast right now, visual, you probably see my name says Lucky. That's my nickname. Whole different side story. Little background about me: 33 years old, retired from the military medically after 12 years of honorable service, and now we're out and about in the real world working in the IT field. Side business as well, doing crypto mining, and that's where we're at currently in life.
Yeah. And man, one of the dopest things, you and I met. We have other mutual friends, and we have a connection of a group. And man, some of the dopest shit that really has happened is really what you're doing right now. But there was a part where you're Marine, prior Marine, and you did EOD, right? Mm-hmm. So you got that service on you. What was it kind of like? Again, one of the things I want to touch about is your story of getting out of the military. What was that like?
Man, get out of the military was a fucked up experience for me, and I'll explain how it was. I got informed that a friend that was very close to me died through prescription medication from the VA. Directly after that, I had about 4 people back to back within a 2 to 3 month time frame either commit suicide or get killed or something like that, fellow Marines. So my mental state was not in a good place because I physically injured myself. I didn't have an escape to hit the gym or find a relief. So I was suffering a lot mentally. And my job realized it. So I was going off snapping at my CO and stuff. So like, you need to go get help. So I ended up getting mental health. And, simultaneously, I'm doing physical therapy as well to recover from my injuries. Things weren't bouncing back because I required surgery. I needed a hip scope. The military denied me twice for a hip scope. So what that caused me to do is get put on medical evaluation. Because after a certain time frame on light duty, they're like, we ain't playing that shit no more. Mm-hmm. So during that time frame, I got put on medical evaluation. That process drew out forever. It was almost a year and a half to 2 years to where I was just on medical eval. During that time frame, the military tried to strip me of everything that I worked for the last 12 years and admin set me. Somebody saw me in the gym deadlifting about 500-600 pounds, but this is me doing my recovery phase.
Correct.
I'm an 800-pound deadlifter. So for me, honestly, 500 pounds is to get back and swing the things, testing the integrity of my muscle fibers and stuff. So the good thing is I have a bachelor's in sports and health science. They put me up for administrative separation. They gave me a 2-week time frame to get a lawyer, have them build a case, and then present it to the court. Well, the good thing is I was already building the case in the background before I found my lawyer. Mm-hmm. So when I got my attorney, I gave him A, B, and C. He's like, "You been down this road before?" I'm like, "I've been to court once or twice." So long story short, with my experience and degree in sports health science, my physical therapies, testimony, and some other things in my favor, the case got dropped and dismissed. Shortly after that, the medical advisors came back from the military saying I'm 100% disabled permanently. So God works in mysterious ways because literally I could have lost everything in that court case, and directly shortly after that, my status came back. So it's fucked up how it happened, but it was happening for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I know a couple Marines, and man, they have some of the worst stories when it comes to like your situation. Like they don't play. No. They will it's almost like I don't know how to really equate it sometimes. Almost like they kind of use and abuse you in a sense. Like they're really quick to throw you away.
That's a very good way to describe it.
So, you're going through those things and then you get out, do you kind of have any resentment afterwards? Kind of like you're getting out and you feel like resentful or hateful or anything like that?
I did have a little resentment. I'm not even going to lie. Only because when I got out and I got approved for medical retirement, I didn't have it going away. I didn't get any awards on the way out the door, which I wasn't looking for awards. But I participated in building so many plaques or sending somebody off the proper way
Right.
Literally, I went to my job and I was told, "Hey, my retirement certificate is on the office desk. You know,
Fuck.
farewell." I'm like, "Farewell." How many times I done came in this office and built plaques for these guys to go out, custom things, just to show our appreciation and hard
Right.
work. I done deployed a couple of times out of this one company, and now it's just like, you're worthless. Got it. So I was resentful for how I got sent off. I was resentful for the military not giving me the surgery I needed because I never wanted to get out. I wanted to stay in.
Mm.
But like I said, God was pushing me in a direction because I honestly believe He could see things you can't see, hear conversations you haven't had, and is able to dismiss and walk through doors that you're too scared to walk through.
Mm.
So I got forced to go this route. And dude, 2 years, 2 years when I got out, I didn't have a job. I survived off my disability, going to college, getting a little money back from there for housing allowance. And when my situation was fit for God to open that door, literally every opportunity I applied for came through. I got 3 job offers in 1 week.
Wow.
I selected one and I rode with it. When that one started coming to a close, which I'm currently in, I applied for another one with a company 10 times the size. And now I'm currently in the third phase of that. So I had resentment at the beginning, but that resentment has subsided now due to the fact that I knew this was part of the process.
Mhm.
It was my path.
Right. I'll be honest, man. Even though everything that happened with you or whatnot with the Marines and everything else, still thank you for your service. You sacrificed your years, especially being an explosive ordnance disposal unit. That's no joke, man. EOD. If you think about it, all the injuries that are being sustained by veterans and everything else, their stories involved explosive devices occurring to them that's putting them in those situations, So for you to be able to do what you did and even doing the physical therapy and try to make a comeback for it, because like you said, it sounds like your passion. If they would have let you in, you would have stayed in. I feel like the impression I got from you is that you would have done 20, said fuck medical retirement, let me go to the full ride and everything else. Because one thing about the Marines is they're very core to their branch. You know what I'm saying? Like Air Force, sometimes I feel like it becomes a corporation. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't feel like a military environment, But with the Marines and maybe sometimes even the Army, they have that family within that it's like, we're true to the fucking day we die. We're going to wear this uniform in our grave, So did you have anybody that you still, I know you have resentment and everything else because how they did you wrong. And that was kind of shady on their part. But is there people that you still keep in touch with that you really like, fuck, I understand what the Marines did to me, but I'm not going to let that take away from the brotherhood or, the friends that I created, the bonds, the mentors and everything else. So do you still talk to several of your fellow Marine brethren?
I do. I would say the Marine Corps was the best job I ever had. I turned down partial scholarships to go into the military, The relationships that are forged during that time frame is something that you can't really describe.
Correct.
It's something that will never go away. These are the people that will be lifelong friends, people you can depend on, people that have your back because the things you went through, nobody else can relate. They can't, no matter what else you go through in life.
I will say though, like Izzy's chalking up the Marines not because he's a big fan, because Rolo's standing behind him, and that's his big brother, and so that's why
he's
I
got
like
a box of Crayola crayons. He's gonna throw at me if I don't talk highly about them.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
But I mean, it is crazy when you do talk about like I have worked with the Marines. There is a difference. Now those were those were data guys, so that there might be a little bit of hesitation from some people. That's why. But anyways, like, in the job I had in the Air Force, like when we got someone brand new, we would literally sit them down and sit there and say, hey man, depending on how you do your the order of the two in the email, that is slanderous. Like if you want to be disrespectful, you put this one before this person. That's like, those are slanderous occasions and stuff like that. But that's why it's more of a, we're taught more of, at least the job I had, more corporation, like Izzy said. And Izzy was, command and control. So checklists and all those things, or how he lived his life. And probably to this day, I think I saw him with a pencil and checking off something right before we got started. So, it's how it is. But, so we're talking about getting out and be resentful. I mean, shit, there's a lot of people that don't understand how real that really is. I mean, not just retirees. Like if you did it a couple of times, because how much birthdays, all these personal times, and the military will just sit there and say, man, deuce, man, don't even have a good one. Just later. Yeah. There's a door, turning your badge. If you have, required security, turning your badge in. And I don't care how you get off a base, man, just leave. I just, and it's, I don't know really, I think that's the hard part. People think we live this big grand gesture, but it's almost like Judge Dredd. Like you just walk out, they give you a cape and you just walk out the door and do what the fuck you want to do.
Yeah. And, I stressed to junior Marines when I had them, man, you want to get out so bad, this and the third. My first contract was one of the most disrespectful and belittling contracts I ever did. Man, I got called a nigger to my face a couple of times. Wow. I went to hostile work environments. It was bad. It was bad.
Wow.
And yet I did not judge the institution off the individuals that I worked with. I judged the institution about my love of wanting to be a Marine. So I didn't let them ruin it for me. I re-upped again. And my next contracts, man, they were heaven sent. They were smooth. I enjoyed it. But I literally could let somebody ruin that for me. But with these junior Marines that just want to get out so quick, they get out with, the thought of, I'm going to go to college, this, that, and the third. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You ain't took a test in 4 years. You hadn't sat in nobody's classroom or actually had to be forced to study for long periods of time in 4 years. So you think you're going to walk back to that environment after doing this job? A lot of them don't have a plan A, B, or anything else. Go out with, a notion or a faint ideal of what they're going to do, and they fall short of where they should have been.
Right. Let me ask you this. Would you, with everything that's gone on, would you still be pro to recommend military for this young generation coming up, high schoolers coming out? Because my nephew just joined, and like Mike mentioned, me and my siblings, we were all military and everything else. But that's one thing, like even now to this day, like the younger generation, I tell them, if you could do college, do college. But most of the time, college is not for everybody. Like it wasn't for me, it wasn't for my siblings and everything else. So we were like, instead of hanging out on the streets, chilling on the stoop, chilling by the bodega store on the corner, we were like, let's make something of ourselves. And the crazy thing is that on the block, you saw those people going away to make something of themselves. You know what I'm saying? And then when I joined and I got in and I would come back on leave, there were times that it was a little sad because you knew where your boys were at. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no change. The same spot, the same corner, the same stoop, So would you still recommend, with everything that you've gone through and everything, would you still be like, yeah, go military, even though with the resentment and everything, would you still be pro-military, no matter what branch, but would you still be like, do it? If nothing else works out for you, go ahead and join the military.
Of course. I don't use my experience because, to govern anybody else's desires and things. I had some of the best times of my life in the military, Absolutely. So what I learned is that 4 years in the military will open a lot of doors for people. 4 years in the military will help a lot of immature kids grow the fuck up.
Yeah, true that.
So a lot of people were sheltered, babied, coddled, and you drop that type of individual in the military environment, no matter what branch it is, it's going to eat their ass alive and make them grow up. So those 4 years you get out, you got a VA loan you can use to buy a house with no down payment. You got 4 years of college free if you want to further your education, or if you were smart, you were doing it while you were in because you just left school, chipping away at a bachelor's degree like I did. I got out with a degree. And a whole lot of life experience. 4 years in the military will cause you to grow up so quickly that when you come back to the real world, look at your peers, you'll be like, why was I even associated with these type of people? Like, why do you even still have my phone number?
Jesus.
That's funny.
But but it is true in that sense. Like I mean, you just have so much more different experiences. Some people try to tell you something, just like, you know, I was talking to a good friend this today, and we're talking about like some of the hardest problems about when you get out is the freedom to do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like it's so different to it's what you wear, it's what you shave, da da da, and you know, what I mean, it goes down to it. And then when you're out, it's like, what do I want to do? And it's like nobody's ever asked. No one's ever cared. I've never cared, and I just did a job. And so that's some of the things. So you're getting out, you get medically retired, you say you don't have a job for 2 years. What is a process? Like how are you doing mentally? How are you doing physically and all that?
Bad. That's the easiest and lightest way to put it. I'm mentally struggling through the shock of my cultural change. My environment was structured from waking up at 5:30 PT, being at work 7:30 or 8 after I'm showered, handling business by noon. I done accomplished more things in the military that most people will do their entire day. Their entire day. That structure, that environment, those people that I was around, knowing my mission when I first walk in the door until I leave, and just the people I call family. The people I call family for so long. Having all that stripped away from you and thrown out to a world that does not understand you. They call fucking people that was in the military baby killers, and some of these people haven't even deployed in their life.
Right.
You know? Civilians will never fully grasp what it is to be in the military. You can speculate, you can throw your opinion around. Until you walk the mile in those shoes, you can't relate and understand what it is for what we're going through when we get out. That's why vets have mental breakdowns, become suicidal.
Absolutely.
Because the civilian world is not for us. So for a long time, I was in a bad spot, dude. I was in a very bad spot. But, you know, I was in a relationship with a female Marine. So that helped to have somebody to talk to that understood. But, you know, it was still hard. It was still hard.
Did those ideations ever cross your mind? I know you said you experienced it with your summer friends that they, and I've had some of mine, had successful suicides and everything else. And my mentality when I transitioned, like I told Mike before, I was blessed that I'm from the East Coast, so I was already in Jersey. And then when I moved down to Florida, majority of my family was there. But I had that relationship, a military relationship, because my brothers were going through it. My friends went through it. So they were already out. They were already chilling in Florida and everything else. So that sort of helped me to stay sort of stable, to not ponder the way my friends who committed suicide were thinking, because their adaptability to the environment and everything else was, despite whatever other things were going on in their lives, like they weren't mentally strong to make those adjustments. And I honestly think, like, if I was by myself, I probably would have been hitting some roadblocks because, like you said, the civilian don't understand. So I can't talk to my boy John Doe, who's never served, who's never been in, who's never wore my boots, to be able to explain to them how I'm mentally doing, because they'll just look at me like, take a pill, you know what I'm saying, or go see a doc or something, and not being able to relate. So it did, for me, a support system was awesome because, again, my military family, even my friends, they were able to understand, the wrongdoings that were happening and everything else. Did those ideations ever cross your mind, especially with the fact that you had already an experience with that because of your brothers and sisters and whatnot went through that? So did that ever happen, or you were just blessed that, your lady was with you, she was military, and she was able to help you out? And then, I'm sure coping mechanisms as well were working out and everything else, but did those ideations ever pondered?
I mean, I would be lying now. I say, when things were at their low point, just that thought didn't creep in, Was I ever leaning towards, harming myself? No. But when things were low, man, the lights were dim at the end of the tunnel. I ain't see nothing. Shit, who wouldn't? Be like, damn, man, it'd be just easy just to end this shit right now. I'm so tired of fucking this shit. I'm tired of being unemployed. I'm tired of being at a low point. I'm tired of, struggling trying to connect with people because they don't get it. Those thoughts cross your mind. Now, I was lucky enough to be mentally strong and never act on nothing. because I don't think that's my MO. My MO is never to give in to something like that, you know? I've
Correct.
always been a fighter. Um,
Right.
but yeah, those things do cross your mind. And just I pray that you're in a good place to where you can fight through it and find some help if it does get serious enough to where you want to kind of cross that threshold, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I think with a lot of those things, man, like, man, it's, we all serve in different branches. You have different experiences, but I think a lot of times is a lot of us get out and we look at everyone else around us and we don't fit in with whatever country we served and all that stuff. Like, we don't really fit in with them. It's just, we're the odd duck out. You know what I mean? It's like if you go to college, because as soon as I got out, I went to UNLV in Vegas, and you could always spot the veteran because we were always in the corner of a room, always looking. We all notice each other. You're always like, okay, you, and we all like had that acknowledgement of like we're the only ones looking around. Everyone else is kind of fucking off, and it's like you like fuck. And, you know what I mean? And it's like even if you go to movie theaters and you see something and it's like hilarious, someone got their head chopped off or whatever, but it's the way they did. It's funny. People look at you weird, and it's like, ah, shit, like. I'm the weird one. I'm the weird guy because, whatever experience I have going on, I find this stuff comical. Is how I cope with things. And you had already mentioned that you're kind of, yes, you do have a female that you can talk to, and you have a girl and stuff like that, and you're trying to talk to regular people. You're not fitting in. What was like? Did you just decide I'm just going to be by myself, or did you sit there and say I'm going to try to talk to other Marines?
I tried to talk to my lady. I tried to talk to, other Marines because I was still around the area at the time. This is me being in California. So I got out in 2019. Yeah, July 2019. So from then to like the end, about 2020, the end of 2020, or the beginning of 2020, I stayed there, you know? So I was in California around the base, around people that I knew, stuff like that. 2020, we left Cali and went to Ohio around no Marines, me and her. Now we're on bad terms by the time we got here. And I have no family or friends here. So I literally was just in a bad spot. Can't find a job. Out here trying to do school. Me and a girl on the rocks. And eventually me and her part ways. So now, 2 years, I'm solo in an environment that I don't know, where nobody really here to cope with or talk to and come up and just decompress with. There were some VAs around, Veterans of Foreign Wars. I never went. I thought about it. I saw some of them when I was walking. And we chopped it in the parking lot. They said I should come in. I'm a good fit, but never did. Got back into mental therapy out here. So get my mental health right. Start talking to my therapist. But it wasn't until August of 2021 that doors opened in my favor. And I remember it because that week alone, I got 2 job offers. The following week, I got another job offer in another state. I was just like, I just wasn't ready. I had to go through a lot of different things. And I saw some of the things I had to go through. When I sat back and evaluated what I needed to improve, what I needed to fix, where I needed to be, it took a lot. But yeah, it ain't easy getting out. It ain't easy when you don't have the support, and those ideations can definitely creep in. And you just have to keep strong and keep moving forward.
Yeah. I gotta commend you, man, because just listening to you now, even though with the struggles for the whole 2 years and everything, not one word came out of you saying that you lost faith. You know what I'm saying? Like, Not one time did you ever question why this was happening to you, to the man above, which is awesome because not many people do that. You know, like me is like when I'm flying in the airplane, I become the most holiest person, man. I'm praying to God on everything. Turbulence hits, I'm like, Lord, please, like, be with me. Repent me of my sins and everything else. Don't let nothing bad happen to me. But I commend you for never losing sight of knowing that eventually things will turn around. And I think one of the biggest downfalls for people, at least for the veterans that are going through these struggles, is that they don't normally see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? They just focus like today sucks. Then the whole time their mindset is going to suck all the time. You know, so how were you able to not program, but how were you able to set yourself up mentally strong? Like how was your willpower so strong to be like, I'm not going to let this shit burden me. I'm not going to let this shit bring me down. Even though I know I'm in the slump right now. I'm not getting work. I don't have no veteran around me. I don't have no Marine around me. You know what I'm saying? Like, how were you able to get yourself to be willpower enough to where your mindset didn't break? Like you didn't, because a lot of times is the mental piece, the mental capacity where people are hurting the most because they're not mentally strong to deal with the circumstances.
I'll say this. People that's been through some real shit in life are built different. People that's been exposed to some real life situations, some fucked up past or this and the third, where they had to overcome trials and tribulations, they're built different. So when it came to this, I've been in low points. I've been to hell and back a few times. And I knew that I was more than what my environment was providing. I was more than what my situation is. So I kept pushing. So, prime example, I got out July 30th, 2019. I didn't get my first job until August 2021.
Wow.
It was in the IT field, the current job I'm working in. I've been in the IT field for 8 months. And from that 8 months, we're actually 9 now. I started off junior engineer, field service technician, to now I'm doing the third phase of interviewing for a network administrative position for a very large multi-billion-dollar corporation. So you have to find the strength to keep pushing. You have to find the endurance and willpower, something to keep you rooted and keep your mind towards the goal. You can't let your situation get the best of you. You have to be stronger than what you're going through. If your mind is strong enough to make it past it and make it through it, you'll be okay.
Absolutely, man. Amen.
Yeah, it's I've always talked about it too. Like I was very suicidal when I got out. You know, I have no problems admitting that I had a drinking one of those things where you do get to a low point, like you're saying, and I think for a lot of people that when it goes down to suicide and stuff like that, I think you start looking at yourself and sitting there saying, I'm more of a burden than I am like a value or anything to anyone around me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really sad part to be in. But a lot of the times is, like we get out and it's like, what's your mission? You know what I mean? Because it's like, what do you do for the next 2 years? And it really, if you have no mission to do anything else and you're there, like school is fun and all, but it's not a mission. It's not like, hey, you're going to school for this, unless I'm going to school for this, and then here's step B here, here's all that. And so, that's that. So what are some of those things that from the moment you got out that you did change about yourself that now you can, now you're in a better spot, you're in a better place. What are kind of some things that you see going forward for you that you can tie your military career into where you're going forward?
My structure and how I complete things at work. Military people do things differently. We're more efficient. Working in the civilian sector, you can just watch people gaff off time. You can watch people literally not do shit and watch the clock just tick until it's time for them to get off. My current position, I can do the majority of my job in the first 4 hours of the day. And literally, unless something goes offline, a computer catches on fire, a server room just goes completely down, I can honestly chill. I got honestly chill. But moving forward, I implemented a lot of things from my gym culture and my military upbringing to carry over into my productivity with working. Um, those skill sets can be taught, but a lot of it's in you, and the military amplifies it. So why not bring it out and carry it over to the work environment and be like, okay, this is what's going to help me drive me to the next level. My drive, my initiative, my willingness to work hard and not let nobody outwork me, my adaptability to learn. You know, those things help you move forward. Um, getting out, getting out. I had a plan, and the plan changed. My plan was to start a doctorate program here for physical therapy because my bachelor's degree is in sports and health science. I started evaluating things, started looking at it. I really didn't, after I got my bachelor's degree, I really didn't want to go back to school for 4 years to do a doctorate program and then start from the bottom and work my way up. I
Right.
didn't. So I'm like, what else did I do in the military before EOD? Because EOD is the only branch where we have to lap move. And two, the Marine Corps is the only branch we have to lap move into EOD. Every other branch, you can enlist as it and go forward. My first job in the military was communications technician. So I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
I got 7 years as a comm tech on the hardware side. Let me learn the software side. So again, I started schooling myself, reading books, labbing on my own, things like that. And I landed a junior network slash field tech position. So I used that to further my skills. But when I felt like I hit a ceiling in my position there, which I am now, I started reamping my resume and pushing that out. Now I have relative job experience on top
Right.
of the 7 years that I had in the military. So now I've been in the field for a little while. Get what I'm saying? So when I went for the job interview and they did a, technical assessment of my abilities and skills, I fit the skill set and job description of the network administrator. So now they're like, okay, let you come back and meet the team. After that, we'll do another technical evaluation that they'll put together. If you pass that, you'll get an offer letter. So literally on the 19th, I'm gonna get an offer letter either for a position higher or lower. So that just is contributed to the hard work in the military. When we don't know
Mhm.
something, we go find the fucking answer. We don't say we don't know.
Right.
When things need to get fixed, we don't pawn off on somebody else. We fix it ourselves. So me literally not knowing anything currently in the IT field, I found the answers. I taught myself. No certifications, no degree, no nothing. It just comes back to how much do I really want it and how much do I want to really achieve and move forward. Do I want to keep sitting in this slump of not having a job or do I actually want to make something of myself? That's what it
Yeah.
was.
And that's
Yeah,
a
she,
great point you make is how you question yourself to be whether I just quit and not take the initiative to do what I need to do to better myself, or I just kept sitting in the slump. So what inspired you to do the Marines, man? With family, like for me, I only had the most I had in my family were cops. My uncles were police in Puerto Rico. I had no military like presence in my household. But for us, my mother was like, I ain't paying college. She's like, your asses are getting out of here, one after the other. Let's go. So what inspired the Marines, man? Why not the Air Force? You would have been great in the Air Force.
Look, I'm gonna tell you like this. And here's a funny story. I was in junior Marines back
Hmm.
in, middle school, stuff like that. I went to school. I did an ROTC program. I knew I was going to the military. I was getting
okay.
partial scholarships from different things that I was doing outside of school and stuff. And I wasn't even paying attention to that. I'm like, I already know where I'm headed. So I had an Army recruiter lie to me, talking about, oh, you could just do this for the summer. If you don't want to do it, you can back out of it. I'm like,
Hmm.
so I let an Army recruiter lie to me, right? I was like, all
Right.
right. So I literally swore in with the Army. So when you go to MEPS, you do that first swear in. It ain't really the real thing
Hmm.
until you
It's
do
not
that.
the trail.
Yeah, unless you do that second swear in, in their room.
Correct.
So I do the first swearing and things like that. You know, as my mom signed the paperwork, she's just looking at me like everyone in my family's been Army. Her, my dad, he's a World War II vet.
Wow.
Her ex-husband was in the Army. So everybody was in the Army. And when I brought on Army paperwork, my mom was like, "You're not a fucking soldier." She was like, I'll sign this shit for you if you want to go. Because I was underage at the time.
Right.
She's like, I'll sign this shit if you want to go. But she's like, I'm going to let you know right now, you're not a soldier. You're a fucking Marine. Like, I did that offhand. So she signed it. I talked to my Marine Corps recruiter. He was like, I can't touch you. Legally, I can't talk to you. He was just like, but just to let you know, they lied to you. So when I started asking questions, they were like, oh, no, this isn't a trial thing. It was like, you sworn with the Army. So, you know, this and the third, you got 4 years. I'm like, oh, no. So I had my mom's, hey, I'm a minor. You signed the paperwork. That wasn't official swearing. Get me dropped as a debt loss. And that's what she did. She went down there and raised hell. Got me as debt loss. So if you ever look at my security clearance started off in the Army back in 2006. And then I joined the Marine Corps in 2007. So
that's crazy.
It's funny how that happened. But even my parents and everybody knew I was not a soldier. It was like the Marine Corps for me. That was the only route to go. And when I fucked up and she had to help correct it, she was like, I'd be glad to fix that. Because I've probably been miserable in the Army. I've probably been miserable.
And why EOD? Sorry, Mike. Why EOD, man? Because normally you always hear like they come from EOD to like IT. I've had people. We've even had green to blue, where I had some Army soldiers cross back into the Air Force and were like, they're going in command and control. But why EOD? Like, what? Why made you leave IT to go to EOD?
Because, and I know Mike can attest to this. In the service, they don't have funding. So things become redundant. There's no new shit. It's the same process day in and day out. And even while you're doing it, you just learn the way they want you to do it. Nothing changes. And then you start doing shit kind of like sideways. Get the job done. But when you leave that and go somewhere else in the real world, it's kind of like, damn, I need to relearn this shit.
Wow.
So for me, I didn't want to do communications anymore. So I either had to lap move or get out. So I started looking at different jobs. I interviewed with Counter Intel. I got 2/3 of the way through this screening process. I was just like, this ain't for me. It's like 10% of the time you're doing some cool shit. 90% of the time you're typing up reports. I'm good.
Right.
So let's move past that. Then I looked at EOD. And the crazy part about it, I got exposed to EOD before screening for it. And the way I got exposed to it, I was deployed to Iraq. And we literally lost a whole EOD team, even the corpsman.
Wow.
Lost the whole team.
Wow.
And I went to a memorial service. And that was my first exposure to EOD.
Wow.
But in the back of my mind, I'm like, they're doing a job that's going to help everybody else be safe. So I went to go do a screening for it. And I screened, made it to the board evaluation where I got to stand in front of a certain amount of text. You know, they asked me questions and asked me why I want to do OD. And I remember telling that story. And one of the warrant officers was on the board, was like, I knew that team. You know, this, that, and the third, they worked here, blah, blah, blah. And I remember leaving the room. And then I got approval to go to EOD school.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to do it for the glory, this, and the third. I want to do it to actually help people on the ground, you know? So I feel like kind of understood that. With the EOD, passed EOD school, which has a high fail rate. And the rest is history, man. I loved every minute of wearing that badge.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you know, it's those... I've known a couple EOD guys, man, and they're always a little bit different. Like, the Air Force EOD guys are fucking, like, not weird, but I think once you deal with bombs, man, you just, like, you have a different perspective. I remember we were in Iraq, and I think, you know, we had mortar attacks because we were in Balad or something like that, and I think there was one of them they got the mortar, picked it up, and was like, oh, we're good, and threw it in the back of the truck, and they just took off. And they were just like, those were those dudes, man. They just like, I don't know if it's like, I guess you're around it so much, you just don't care, or you know how safe you are. But EOD guys are and girls like for the Air Force, they've always been like a different breed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say we are a different bunch, man. We are. Not everybody's gonna fit in, and I understand why we do those screenings and stuff. You know,
Hmm.
you start talking about the job and what it entails, and you know, we lost people in training on base. You know, so from just losing people doing training on base, think about the atmosphere you get thrown into.
Yep.
Imagine if Ukraine wasn't, you know, getting attacked. Imagine if it was us. So think about all that ordnance that they done dropped over there, all the shit that didn't explode. Guess we right around the trucks trying to fix that shit here.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
Yep.
Who will be
Yeah,
equipped next?
Yeah, a lot of my friends when I first got to Germany were from EOD, and I always felt like they just always needed to live life to the fullest. Because they always knew that tomorrow wasn't going to be guaranteed for them, you know, especially when they went on those missions. Even like you said, even the train, even though they would be like, oh, this is an inert bomb, who knew if, God forbid, something went wrong, you know? But for those guys, man, they will always just be living and living. And a very rare, I met an EOD guy that had negative attitude. Like, he never was just like, leave me alone, get away from me. They were just more like, I need to live for the moment right now and do what I need to do, which is, I mean, like you said, it's just hard. The training school is difficult, has a high fail rate. I mean, that is a lot of material. Like for us, we call them, you know, like CDCs. They were like study guys to learn your skill set and your core level and everything of the job. And these guys had to know all different types of everything, man. And it was pretty intense for them. It's crazy.
Yep. I can attest to that, man. I used to spend a lot of time at the drag strip, racing my motorcycle, racing cars, just doing adventurous shit. Tomorrow ain't promised.
Yeah.
Tomorrow ain't promised. And, you know, I've calmed down a lot, you know, in my older age, but yeah, calmed down a lot. But even now, like once I land this next job, my race truck is going back to the shop, and we're gonna finally get that back up and running after, you know, a couple of years of just being off to the side. I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get back in the racing. So man,
Nice.
I'm still living on the edge, still living like for the moment. My drag bike might be gone, but my drag truck is still here. So
Right. That's awesome.
That's dope, man. Like it's I don't know what it is. Like it's like it's so weird how like the military can find jobs for the right people. It's like there's just a group of people. They have the process. They've been doing it for so long that they're really good at it. Like very rarely do you find someone that when they have a process like that, a selection, that somebody gets through and they don't kind of fit in. Normally it's like pretty much dead on the money. Everyone's kind of the same personality. Don't matter where you come from. Pretty much it's all the same, right? Like you all act the same thing, way this and that. And so you have that now, and that talks to you. And one of the reasons why, like when you and I have a conversation, one of the things I enjoy about it is the way your mind works. It's like you have a different process of how you process everything. It's like a very logical A, B, C, here we are, and here's the connections. It's not like A's here, B's up there, and we're like kind of shooting around trying to make it all fix. It's like you've already thought about it, and it's like you've already prepped, like briefing it to a person. You kind of already have that mind. How has that been really beneficial for everything you're doing now?
it makes life easier. Like a lot of people think out of emotion. They like to do things spontaneous, which is cool. But is that the right way to do it? If I'm over here talking to you about $1 million plan I got with real estate, is it smart to be shooting from the hip, spare the moment, spontaneous? Like, oh, how about you go out and buy this? Did you run the numbers? Did you find out what the mortgage rates are? Have you done your funding? Are you even going to get funding? In fact, if it's an investment property, do you have any other outside money you can get if you don't get approved for the amount that you want? You got a co-signer? You got an investor? Like, that's the way my mind runs. So by the time I get ready to process a plan, I done ran the scenarios, answer the questions that need to be answered. For example, man, I want to do crypto mining. I got an LLC for it now. So I'm just like, damn, how would I get from not knowing shit to having 3 rigs running in my garage making a shitload of money each month? How do I do that? Well, I guess I need to learn about crypto. Got on YouTube, started learning about crypto. Got it. Well, I got my parts list now. How do I acquire these parts? Well, 99% of this stuff is easy to get. The only hard component are the graphics cards. Look at the market. Now I understand why the graphics cards are through the roof. That logical mindset helps me step one by one to my end result. Instead of just shoot from the hip, oh, I'm going to do this, or I got an idea, I'm going to make it happen. How you going to make it happen without the proper steps or a plan? How you going to implement it? It's cool to talk about. Ambitions and desires are cool to bring up a conversation until it's time to initiate it.
Yeah.
Until it's time to put in that work, plan it out, scope it out, and make it into a reality.
Yeah.
But I can tell who you are by what you do, not what you say.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And I think that's the most important part, man. Like, man, it's man, there's so many veterans. We have so many, like, we have a lot of great ideas or whatever it is. And it's like a lot of times, a lot of us go away from a lot of our training. Maybe some people didn't have that specific training, but normally most everything we did had the same concepts of you had to plan it, you had to have a strategy, you had to have an implementation, execution phase. You have to have some kind of order and standard to how you do things. And I think a lot of veterans, they get away from that when they get out because like you said earlier, man, I've said this so many times and I know it kind of pisses people off, but it's like when you get around the civilian counterparts, like they just can't compete. You said that too as well. Like it's not even a fucking race anymore. Sometimes it's just like, dude, I've had training to be this person. You haven't. Like, who at 22 gets leadership, like, training? Like, who the fuck gets that? Like, who gets leadership training hands-on on top of that? Not just a book, but, you know, it's like, it's kind of unfair in a sense and those type of things. And that's why I like when you and I have conversations, we talk into those things, it's always that kind of concept of like, boom, boom, boom. And then you go dark for a very long time, pop up, here we are right here. And you're like, holy shit, you can literally see it, but also here's the action. Because I think that's most people are missing is the action portion.
Mm-hmm. Like the funny part about that is, ask Q about my process of getting out the military. And just ask him how long that I was planning it and telling him about it. Because he will literally tell you everything that I mentioned to him years ago has one step after another got to this point. From my disability rating to the process in which they got me out, to where I was acquiring a job, to now my next step is real estate. Everything that I've talked about, I've stepped myself to it. It might not have come overnight, which it shouldn't have. And it's been taking a couple of years, which, you know, that's part of the process. But I've stayed true to what I've been saying every step of the way.
Nope. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is the crypto stuff, man. Because so Izzy, I'll tell you like this. Like, so Nick and I and a couple other friends, we all have a group chat going on, right? And man, a lot of things that I've been started, like that I haven't processed in motion, come from like just, you know, a lot of us talking about what we're doing. And so Nick's talking about crypto, and it was like that, like the moment he talked about it, I was like, dude, it's so fucking smart that it was like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you work on passive income? Like, why not, right? In that sense.
Right.
And that's actually what got me into doing the things that I'm doing now, a lot of stuff, because I was just like, fuck it, we'll just focus on passive income and we'll hustle that way. But if you can, Nick, man, can you, talk about what you're doing and just because that shit's hilarious, about how brilliant it is and the position it puts you in.
Yeah,
So
elaborate on crypto mining because I'm on Robinhood. I'm just on Robinhood right now. So elaborate for me on crypto mining.
So crazy part about it is I knew nothing about it, man. You know, I saw some YouTube videos about it. I heard people talk about it like it might be a good way to make passive income. Like when I started working at my job, you know, it was around a whole bunch of tech guys. So they're like, you know, hey, I had a graphics card one time and, you know, I did a little mining. The electric was too high. So, you know, I just stopped doing it. I'm like, okay, well, let me look into it. So I started getting on YouTube and Google and things like that and finding out what it actually is. So instead of having a physical ledger like banks keep for every transaction they have, it's a digital ledger.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that happens within the blockchain of people sending money back and forth, you know, I'm working the algorithm to build the no shit next page for the ledger. And then I get to move transactions into this ledger. So doing this work for that algorithm, I get paid in cryptocurrency because I'll join a pool of my other miners. Once we find a block, that block is the next page. It gets added to the blockchain. We split that profit of how much the award was for that block. Each person gets a
All right.
portion, and depending on how much horsepower you contributed, you might get more than somebody else.
Mm.
And then we just keep doing it. So the process for me was like, okay, I understand the basics. I don't got to go far into depth of everything that I need to know about it, like most people do. I understand the basics. I understand what it does and how it works. Now, how do I get into it? Next, I started breaking that down. I need equipment. Okay, I'm in the tech field. It's a fucking computer. I built plenty of these. I built computers. I built servers. I built virtual
Yeah.
environments. If I can't build this at my house, there's a problem. I shouldn't have a job. So I was like, God, that step's done. Now what do I need to do? Okay, I need funds to do it. That's what wanted me to the LLC. So
Gotcha.
formed the LLC, got funding for business, 22K. I also took out a personal loan just to make sure I had enough funding. Lo and behold, I found great deals on cards, God willing, because you know the market. And now it's like I have 36 graphic cards. They run 24/7. That with the current market value, I bring in about a couple of grand every 30 days. Not doing
Fuck.
shit except paying electricity.
Jesus.
Like I just pay electricity. And once
Yeah.
Ethereum, the biggest mining cryptocurrency, goes away from their mining and they go to proof of stake for their work, a lot of stuff is going to come on the market, and that's when I'm going to start buying things strategically to expand my farm.
Right. Right. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And
incredible.
that's what I like
man.
about it. Is like it's so like the way he breaks it down. You're like, oh yeah, of course that would make sense. Like it's almost
Yeah.
like you don't know what you're doing. Cool, figure it out. And then it's like before you start getting ahead of the dream, the vision, it's like what else do I need to learn? Step two.
Yep.
And
Right.
that's really what I like said. That's why I like when I talk to Nick. That's what I like about it is like that perspective of no man, the old school message, KISS. You know, we just keep it simple, move to the next block. Okay,
Yeah.
we're here. What do I do with that? And the best part about it too is so there was a point for it where like crypto's been taking a shit, you know, it went down or something like that, and then it shot back up. And I just remember being like, man, I know, just knowing where Nick's at right now was just like dying laughing because I saw the numbers and I was like, that is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, because at
What
one
that was
point in
like.
time, like as soon as I got started, the market took a shit. I'm not talking about like, you know, a little light shit. I'm like, you had Taco Bell 3 days in a row and it finally hit.
Diarrhea. Yeah.
Man, so Ethereum went down to almost 2 grand a coin. So when it came to profitability, I was just like, it's part of the market. Weather it
Right.
out, stop looking at it, stay the course. Because you know things fluctuate. Bitcoin fluctuated. Bitcoin went up, down for a long time, and then look where Bitcoin's at. So like,
Right.
okay. It went from 2K to a few days ago, it was just at 35.64 or something. So that should let you know, like, everything will be sunshine and rainbows while you're doing the process, but trust the process.
All right.
Because in 2 months, you saw where my wallet was at.
Yeah.
Yeah. In
But
2
that was the best part about it because it was like it was like almost the best timing because it was like as you're kind of because even you were talking about it like you know if you can go elaborate more into it just because you have it set up you got to troubleshoot that stuff still.
Oh man, so ask these dudes. I was literally, I got all the equipment, I built everything, I moved it to the garage, I put my rack in there, I had my switch, you know, all kind of stuff, just everything ready for the network.
Mm-hmm.
Plugged it in, I was having problems. Packets, like data was just dropping, like everything was working and stopped. So there was latency somewhere in my line. So I'm just like, my data's not flowing smoothly. Something's messing up. So I had to troubleshoot it. So I'm like, shit, where can it be? Started back from my router, worked my way to my switch. And the one thing that was messing up, I had a Wi-Fi extender that would hop on the power lines in the house and make its way to the switch. Well, every so often, something wouldn't compute right. So
All
with
right.
that, not computing right, the issue about that is that I work algorithms. If my data drops while I'm working an algorithm, now whatever I worked has fallen out of place and somebody else probably solved it. So now
Mm.
it comes up as a stale share, invalid share, and I was missing out on a lot of money for like 14 days. So I was just over here troubleshooting it, and I finally found the issue. I fixed that. Man, my thing been up ever since. And asked them.
All right.
I was the whole night. They'd be talking to me, hey, how the crypto's going? I can't talk right now, man. I, I was able was like 14 days. It was like at least a week. It was a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to fix it. It was like, you good? You good? I can't talk right now, man. I'm over here trying to work.
Yeah.
But
But
after I figured
like I
it out,
said,
it was good.
Right?
Man.
Yeah.
that's why I say it's the dopest shit, man. Because we saw, like you said, the crypto took a shit, and you're like, damn. And then one day you saw it jump back up, and you're just like, man, that is the funniest shit. Because, like, the thing about crypto is like anything else, right? Like, if you have $5 in there, or whatever, and it goes down to $5, and then it pops up to $300, you still got that shit. Like, it's not like he had to buy more of it, and he was getting more every day. And I just remember being like, damn, that is a smooth. And also that's so that's why I always give him the most props, because when we were talking about it, I was like, damn, dude, you're working on a side hustle that literally, it don't matter. Right now, you're making money. When you're doing whatever you're doing, you're making money on the other side that, you put in a lot of work in for like, what, a month or so. But man, ever since then, man, like, you got the money, you're making money, making smooth transactions.
Yeah, I wanted to have it up and running by the beginning of January, but my equipment didn't come in until mid or end of January, and I finally got everything up and running fully right at the end of January and going into February. So I've had 2 full months of mining, and the results off of 2 full months of mining, man, I am sold. I am sold because imagine rolling that to 6 months where I'm gonna be. I can almost pay off my equipment if it holds.
Yeah.
The moment I pay
told
off
my-
my equipment, like it's all profit after that.
Yeah, I told my brother we're quitting our jobs tomorrow. We're done. We're done working for the man. It's time to work for
Izzy doesn't have a
ourselves.
job, so he's out. But
Yeah, I don't have
like,
a job.
But one of the best things about a lot of this stuff, man, is like I said, like my biggest complaint towards veterans, and I've said this so many times, it's just we get out of the military and we let that be it. Like, even you're talking about being a Marine in those times. It makes you smile, makes us happy. We relive because, for everyone talks, for a lot of us, when they sit there and say, hey, my college years, we're like, nah, man, I didn't have college, but I had the military. And that shit was like college, 4, 6, 8, however long I was. Pretty much I was college nonstop. And, kind of like what you said, man, like we have bonds with people. I mean, Izzy and I, like we deployed together, and we've been friends ever since. Just that random thing that, if we're in the outside, we would have never met. And to this day, and those are the things that I think people don't understand. Like that there's people we call and they will answer the phone, and whatever we need, we can get. Like literally, it's just, hey, I need somewhere to stay, or hey, I'm thinking about doing this to myself to harm myself. I got you. Like either I'm coming with you or you come with me or something like that. So I think those are some of those things that people can't understand, because I have some friends that are, work related, right? So it's that, and I will just not talk to them for a couple of days because I'm working on something, right? And, like they get like, hey, is everything okay? Are we okay? Like that. I'm like, yeah, we're cool, man. Like I can dip out on somebody for months at a time. It's no big deal. Why? Because we PCS, we deploy somewhere. That didn't mean we weren't friends. It just means like, hey, we're doing whatever. And, I think that's why they don't understand us. Because it's like, how can you just say bye to somebody and it's not personal? It's like, man, we're going to pick up right where we left off when we pick up. Like, It's not a big deal.
We still cool. It's just I'm at a point in my life where something needs my attention.
Yeah.
So like that's where I'm at right now. Like, I post on social media when I feel like it. It ain't nothing too deep. I might drop something, a meme or something here and there. But right now, literally, when I get off of this, my focus is going to be back on this networking ladder. And in between my breaks of me picking up my phone and posting something, they don't understand what's going on in the background. My distance isn't because I don't want to fuck with you. My distance is because I'm in a position in my life where I'm moving forward. And when I come back
Right.
to light,
Right.
I'm gonna be a different person. But
Yeah.
I feel like
Right.
the thing I want to leave people with that's listening to this um, is that sooner or later, the military has to end. When you take that
Mm-hmm.
uniform off, um, hopefully you have a plan. Put something into place. Structure yourself while you're in to either have a degree on the outside, a technical trade that you could pick up in, or have something implemented to where when you get out, you have something to keep working towards, to fill that void of what you're going to go through, reintroduce yourself back into society. Because if you don't, man, there'll be a long, hard road. I had a plan, and the plan still fell through, and I still had a long, hard road. It's still traveling, you know?
Yeah.
I'll
Well,
say
like you
I'll
said,
say
man.
this, man. Just sorry, Mike. Just for you coming on this podcast, man. I'm truly glad I got to meet you, got to hear your story and everything else. It truly is a beautiful narrative that you're telling, to where even though you got out and you saw yourself hitting the slumps and everything else, and you were down and out, you still managed to rise above the occasion, overcome the obstacle, and look what you're at now. You know what I'm saying? Like you're able to make all this passive income and do what you need to do and not have to worry anymore. You know what I'm saying? Now you're more focused. Hopefully, man, you get this job and everything goes well for you. I wish you nothing but the best and prosper
I
in life,
appreciate it.
man. And hopefully it just stays on that path. You know what I'm saying? And continue to be strong-minded like you are. Continue to be, strong-willed, and don't lose the faith, man. Like I told you before, that's a beautiful thing, that everything, all the negativity that has happened in your life, all the stresses that you had to deal with, that not once did I ever hear you mention that you lost the faith, man. So it's truly a blessing for me to be able to come across paths with you, man. And I'm glad I got to know you, man. You're awesome people.
Likewise, man.
Well, again, thank you, Nick, man. I'll let you get back to. I know you got to go back to studying.
Yeah.
We'll let you do it, man.
Rhythm going. Keep that network going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, but again, thanks, man. Like I said, one of the reason why I wanted you to come on so much is because, man, your story having a difficulties. Because one of the things we didn't even talk about is your other side of your life, like the bodybuilding, the powerlifting, which is a whole different side of you, man. It's like, man, and the reason why I never want to touch on it is because, man, like just the military portion of getting out, having a rough time, and so where you're at right now, man. Because 2019 is not that far apart, man. Like even though you might have been off for 2 years, it's almost like that bamboo. You weren't just you weren't doing nothing for 2 years. You were just growing, and then it popped. But it's like was it just 3 months? No, it was the full time you were out growing.
Yeah.
So, man, thank you for coming on, man. I enjoyed it. I love that people can get to see a different side of, hey, man, you're going to go through some shit. And if you do, it's fine. But that doesn't mean you stop. And, man, what you got going forward too, because once we start talking about real estate and that type of stuff, like people don't understand what kind of mindset you have to have and how your mindset is going to murder the investor side of it. So,
Watch out for your boys coming.
yes, sir. All right, man. Well, thank you very much. And, man, thanks
bro.
for talking with us.
Bet.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.